You know who's this? This is a picture of Joseph Haydn. This is how Joseph Haydn looked like. Look at his hair. Do you think this was his real hair? No, it's a wig. In those times, all the men used white wigs like this. So Joseph Haydn used a wig. And Joseph Haydn is the man that noticed that everybody kind of tends to sleep when the music is soft and quiet. So he said, I'll play a trick on everybody. And he made a symphony, The Surprise, that we've been talking about. But I want to tell you a story. I have a book about Joseph Haydn when he was a little boy. So I want to tell you the story of Joseph Haydn when he was a little boy, because he was a very special little boy. So let's read his story. Look at the way he's dressed. See, this is how little boys dressed in his time. They used this kind of three-corner hats. Look at his jacket. He had long hair because that's how the boys used like. Little Joseph Haydn loved music. In the morning, after work, his father, Matthias, liked to play the harp. Joseph would sit on his tiny wooden stool with two pieces of wood in his hands. They were his pretending violin. He really wanted to play a real one. See, he sits on his little stool. He has two pieces of wood, and he goes, choo, 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 choo. I'm playing my violin with you, Daddy. One day, a visitor came to Joseph's house. It was Matthias' cousin Frank. He was a school teacher, and he also was a musician in the local church. Joseph loved listening to him play the violin. After supper, Father Haydn and cousin Frank played together, and Joseph pretended to be playing with them in his two pieces of wood. Now look how, this is the father, he's playing the harp, he's the cousin, and he's playing the violin. Now look how they're dressed. Does your daddy dress like that? No, right? And look at their hair. Was that their hair? No, they use wigs. But there they are playing music, and little Joseph sat with them and said, I'll play with you, Daddy, I'll play with you. And he was pretending to play. But you know what? And the cousin Frank, who was the teacher, he was a music teacher, he said, that little boy is really good. He sings perfect. He keeps the beat really good with his pretending violin. He's just pretending, but he's doing a really good job. So when Joseph went to bed, cousin Frank said, Joseph is a really bright boy. He keeps perfect rhythm and time and has a lovely voice to sing. He should have music lessons. Let him come and live with me, and I will teach him how to play the violin and how to sing. So he wanted Joseph, see, he's asleep on his bed, and the two grown-ups are talking, and he said, that boy should have music classes. But you know, in the little town, when Joseph lived, they didn't have music classes. So he said, let him come and live with me in a bigger city, and I'll teach him. Joseph's mother and father were sad to let their little boy leave. But they packed his bags and waved as 6-year-old Joseph said goodbye and went to cousin Frank's house in a big city in Hamburg. So imagine, he was 6 years old. Joseph Haydn was 6. Now, how old are you today? Are you 5? Are you 6? Now imagine if you are so good at music, you are so talented that I would say, you are so talented at music, you should leave your mommy and daddy and come and live with me in my house in another city, and I will teach you music. Would you like to leave your mommy's house and not live with your mommy and daddy anymore and live with your cousin? Oh, it's terrible. He was only 6. And he said, bye, mommy, bye, daddy. And he left his house. I just cannot even imagine that. But there he is saying, bye, mommy, bye, daddy. And at 6 years old, he left his mommy and daddy. And he went to live with the teacher in another city. It was a very hard work. Joseph had to study books, learn to sing with the other boys in Cousin Frank's school, and practice the violin and the clavier. See, this is not a piano, it's called a clavier, which is kind of a keyboard instrument, something like the piano. So here's the Cousin Frank, and see, he's teaching little Joseph how to play. But it was very hard because, at home, Joseph's mother made sure he was always clean and neat. But here, nobody looked after his clothes. And sometimes he got dirty. Like, who washes your clothes? Do you wash your own clothes? Do you have to keep your clothes clean? Do you have to cook dinner? No. All of that your mommy does for you or your daddy, right? Well, Joseph had to do all that by himself. He had to make sure he was clean, and everything his mommy used to do, he had to do it. So look, he's not very happy. But he loved so much singing in the church choir, he forgot his troubles. Now look at the boys singing in the church choir. Even the little boys use wigs. Now you want to hear something unfair? Girls were not allowed to sing in the choir, only boys. That was a long time ago. Girls were not even allowed to sing in the choir, and they couldn't have the classes, only boys. And the boys use a wig and they would sing together. And Joseph loved singing. He really loved doing music. One day, another important visitor. He was the teacher on another way bigger music school in a way bigger city. And he said, I'm looking for the boy that sings the best and is the best at music to come and live in my music school in the big city and sing in my church choir. So Joseph went and sang for him. Look how important he looks. That's how people that were very important look like. And Joseph sang and said, this boy is very good. I'll pick him. So now Joseph had to leave even his uncle or Cousin Frank and go with this other professor to a bigger church, bigger school of music. And there he sang on the church. And his voice was so good, he was the solo singer. You know what the solo singer is? Everybody would sing and then he would stand up and sing all by himself, and everybody was like, oh, that boy sings so good. He was really, really good. And you know what? He loved studying music so much. All his friends would say, come on, Joseph, let's go out and play. But he would say, no, I have to practice. He would rather practice music and practice violin and practice his clavier, which is like the piano, instead of going to play. He just wanted to practice and practice and practice and practice. Now you would think he was a very good boy. Well, no. Joseph Haydn was very mischievous and he was always getting in trouble. You know what happened one time? And this is true, okay? This is a true story. All those boys went to sing for the Empress. The Empress is like the queen. Empress Maria Therese. She's like the queen. And all the boys in the choir went to sing for the queen. Now imagine if you go sing for the queen. Now outside of her castles, there were some ladders because they were fixing the castle. It says, one day an invitation to the palace came from the Empress Maria Therese. She wanted to hear the boys sing. After singing, the boys went for a walk in the palace garden. Builders had left some ladders there. Do you see the ladders? Raise you to the top, said Joseph, and all the boys began to climb the ladders. Come down at once, called an angry voice. It was the Empress. Never do that again. It is far too dangerous. So the queen herself, the Empress, said, boys, come down from those ladders. You can never go climb down again. I don't ever want to see any boys climbing the ladders. It's far too dangerous. And all the boys were like, yes, ma'am. The next week, when the boys returned to the palace, guess what happened? Look at that. Joseph looked at the ladders again. He loved climbing. Raise you to the top, he said, and up he went. But none of the other balls went up. How dare you, said the teacher. Disobedient boys must be punished. Now, can you imagine that? He disobeyed not only his teacher, but the queen, the empress. The empress told him not to do something, and he still did it. So he went into a lot of trouble. Then he grew up and he became a young man. And then he was still singing in the choir, but he was in a fight with a boy in front of him. And you know what he did? He was in a fight with this boy. Now, you know they all use wigs, right? So one day they were singing in a choir and he was fighting with the boy in front of him. And he took a pair of scissors, he took the ponytail of the wig of the boy in front of him, and he went snap. Let's see if you can see. Do you see? He has the scissors here, and he cut the ponytail of the boy in front of him. So imagine in the middle of the concert, the boy goes like, oh, my hair, he cut my ponytail. Ah! And the teacher said, enough, Joseph, you are too much trouble. And they kick him out of the school and of the choir. They say, out, you cannot be in this school anymore. You have to leave. Now you have to understand, that school was Joseph's house. That's where he slept. Like you in those times, if you were in the music school, you didn't just go to music classes, you lived there. So once they said out, he had no place to live. He's like, where do I go now? Lucky for him, he was so good at music, he started teaching violin to little kids or to grown-ups. And everybody loved him. And then he started making up his own music. I said, I can make up music my own self. And he started making up his own music, and everybody loved his music and his songs. So he started becoming very famous. So another prince said, you should come and live in my castle and be the main musician in my castle. So he went to live at the castle, and he was the main musician in the castle. And that's where he noticed, people are sleeping on my quiet music. I'm going to play a trick on them. And that's when he made the symphony, The Surprise. And he was such a good man. He was so nice to everybody. You know how he was known? People call him Papa Haydn. He was not called Joseph Haydn. Everybody called him Papa Haydn. And he made beautiful music. So that's the story of Joseph Haydn.